and welcome to Trials to Triumphs. I'm Ashley Blaine Featherson-Jenkins, but you can call me ABFJ. This week, I had the honor of speaking to a woman I've looked up to for most of my life, Malinda Williams. And I have to say, our conversation about leaning into your intuition, believing in fate, and asking for what you want out of life hit so hard. Hands down, Malinda is one of the actors who 1000% shaped who I am today. She first showed up for me as Bird in the TV series Soul Food, which, if anyone else remembers the early 2000s, played pretty late on school nights. And flashing back to those times, me bargaining with my parents to please let me stay up and watch the show led to so much more. I remember studying the way the characters developed over the seasons and savoring how much the show mirrored my own life. Seeing that familiarity on screen allowed me to create a vision of what I wanted for myself, to see a future where I could be this actress. I could be a role model for young girls one day too. And it all started with watching Malinda, envisioning what I wanted and asking for it. That's something she knows a lot about.
I broke down, ask and it is given. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door will be open. Now, what I realized about those three phrases was that there were no conditions on them. It didn't say ask but ask politely and you shall receive. It didn't say seek and make sure you seeking with the lights on or you seeking in a certain place. It didn't say that. And it didn't say knock, but knock real hard. It didn't say any of those things. It was very clear. Ask, seek, knock. And so the first thing I did was I said, all right, well, I'm going to ask. And I just started asking literally the way I needed it.
Malinda has always inspired me to ask for what I want in life. And her being on Trials to Triumphs is the perfect manifestation of that. And in our Sankofa moment, who Malinda would invite to her annual Rise and Shine Ladies Who Brunch event.
I feel like she's somebody who had a lot of insight, who has a lot of insight into, how to do your own thing. How to go against what you see, how to have faith, how to step out and believe in yourself.
Malinda, I want you to take me to the beginning. What did New Jersey give you? Growing up in New Jersey, what did it give you?
Well, growing up in New Jersey, first of all, gave me seasons.
Yeah, ditto. I'm from Maryland, yeah.
It gave me seasons, but I will tell you, those seasons were important. The seasons were important because seasons change. Everything has a season. It's planting season, it's harvest season. It's wintertime, it's summertime. It's time to have fun, it's time to work. You know what I mean? Like, Jersey is one of those places that gave me that. It gave me grounding. Obviously, family. My whole family is from New Jersey. So it gave me a sense of grounding. And even to this day, when I'm home in Jersey, I feel very grounded. Although I will say I feel more grounded in Jersey than I do anywhere else, but I have learned to find my footing and my grounding wherever I am.
Ooh, that's good. How did you learn that, though?
What happened is there was a time when I was living in New Jersey. I had moved to California, but then I had moved back to Jersey. And it was a time in my life where I wasn't really having a great time. I was pretty miserable. I was pretty unhappy. And then I realized that, this is not a place necessarily. Happiness, joy, it's not a place necessarily. It's a state of mind. It's a state of being. And Malinda, you are going to have to learn how to have that state of mind and that state of being no matter where you are. Otherwise, you would get stuck to a place. You know what I mean? You would get stuck in a place. And I knew at that time, it was time for me to get up and go. I had to get up and go. I was being told it's time to go. And I knew I was going to be leaving Jersey. And so I had to quickly find the way to get myself tethered to happiness and joy, or at least to the ways of bringing myself happiness and joy. And that was through, it was really just through going within, right? Like my spiritual practices, through my prayer, through my listening, mostly through my listening.
Yeah. Yeah. You got quiet so you could really listen.
I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. There's some times in your life, and I, as a woman of a certain age, there are certain times in your life where I say you can get still, you can be still, or somebody or something or God can sit you down and make you still. And this was one of those times where I wasn't choosing to be still. I was being made to be still.
Malinda, what did the other side of that look like?
Do you guys watch Scandal?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm a gladiator.
Okay. So I have do you remember Mel? What's his name? What's the president's name? What was his name?
Oh, yeah. President Fitz.
Thank you, Fitz. Right. So remember, Fitz was married to Mel, right?
Yes.
And she was going through this period in her life, which I now call my gray period. But she was going through this time in her life where they were calling her Smelly Melly. She was calling herself Smelly Melly. She was in a gray robe and some gray Uggs, like day in, day out. That was me. That's what it was like on the other side of that. And I think looking back on it, I don't necessarily I don't know if I was depressed. I don't know if I was in a depression, but I know that I was in a very sort of dark place. Like literally everything in my life was gray. Everything. There was no color. And so all the metaphors, I mean, if you see me now and if you see my work, my brands, everything, it's about color. Because when I began to sort of reawaken, if you will, the color started coming back into my life. But that gray period, that period of being under a cloud, like feeling like I'm walking in a cloud or under a cloud and it's only over me, hanging over me.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. That's what it felt like.
And so I guess I want to talk about this gray period because I think we all feel it. How do you keep moving through the gray to get to the color? How do you keep putting one foot in front of the other?
Yeah, no, we all go through these periods, these gray periods and these seasons. And one of the things that I now believe, Ashley, is that God allows us to go into these storms so that he can in part qualify us, right? I feel like, well, obviously I didn't know then. I was like, why am I here, God? What's going on? Like, I thought we was tight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Oh, yeah.
And I literally asked that question time and time again. Why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? When I got on the other side of it, I'll take you back. But when I got on the other side of it, and when I was clear that I was no longer there, I was in Spain and I was given a set of clues. A set of clues. When I tell you a clear set of clues, like do you know God gives you signs, like literal signs?
Yeah.
Like he's got such this amazing sense of humor, but he started giving me all of these clues. And by this time I was paying attention. It was about 5 years later.
Oh, okay.
But by this time, I had already started being obedient. I was like, if you just get me out of this situation, G, I'm yours. I'm all yours. I'm all ears.
Yeah.
And so he did. He pulled me up out of that valley. And once I got up out of that valley, I was like, okay, what are we doing? And I was just obedient to every single move, every single word, like the first word. You know what I mean? Like when you hear spirit talk the first time, that's when you listen. You don't ask no questions.
Yes.
You don't say, well, maybe I'll do that in a second, but I want to try this first. You don't do that. Okay. That's what I learned. But the 5 years after that, when I was in Barcelona, God was dropping all these clues on me. And I was like, what? Things that they could not possibly have been coincidences. That first of all, I don't believe in coincidences.
Okay.
But there's no way possible that there was going to be this many clues being dropped in my spirit that were tracing back to the time I was spending in that valley 5 years earlier. So it's almost like he was saying, listen, I'm sending you these signs so that you know I was there with you 5 years earlier. When you were asking, why am I here?
Ooh.
I had you there because I needed to take you through that lesson. And now that I'm blessing you 5 years later, I need you to know it's me. It was me and it is me.
Oh, Malinda. Okay. So, oh gosh, so many things are popping into my head because you were just one of the most amazing human beings to ever walk the face of the planet. Okay. So what I want to know now, ooh, this is so good. Okay, I want to phrase this properly. How did you create the discernment, or how did you fortify your discernment in order to be able to connect those dots?
Fortify. Oh, I asked. I asked. That's it. So let me say this. There's no two ways about that. I used to have this plaque in my house called Ask, Seek, Knock. And I started I looked it up and I started taking things literal, right? Like I would go to the Bible because I was in a place where I was like, well, I need to understand some of these things that are happening to me. So, let me just look up some of this stuff. So I broke down, ask and it is given. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door will be open. Now, what I realized about those three phrases was that there were no conditions on them. It didn't say ask but ask politely and you shall receive. It didn't say seek and make sure you seeking with the lights on or you seeking in a certain place. It didn't say that. And it didn't say knock, but knock real hard. It didn't say any of those things. It was very clear. Ask, seek, knock. And so the first thing I did was I said, all right, well, I'm going to ask. And I just started asking literally the way I needed it. When I tell you the way I needed it, I'll share a little story with you.
Please.
Can I share a story?
Please.
So sidebar, I wrote a book, right? I have a book called The Game of Life and How to Slay It. I wrote this book and some of these stories are in the book. And one of the things that I recognized from a very young age was that things were happening to me the way I said they would happen.
Ooh.
Wow. Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh, yes.
Let me give you one example. When I was 29 years old, I realized that I was pregnant with my son, and it just dawned on me. It just randomly, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to have a baby. And I always said I was going to get married at 29 and I'm going to have a baby when I'm 30. I've been saying that since I was, 10, 11, 12 years old.
What?
I don't even know why.
Malinda.
I have no idea. No, like, you know how when you play house or you're playing school or you're playing, I would always be the woman. I don't know what my career, I chose was, but I always said I would have a baby at 30. I would get married at 29. And I realized that that had happened. And it freaked me out a little bit because I was like, wait a minute, am I doing this? Or what? Okay, is this chicken or egg? What's happening? Seriously.
Wow.
So then that brings me to this little quick story I want to share with you. When I decided that I was going to just ask, at the time, I was going through financial troubles. And yes, this was after you knew me on Soul Food. You know, I had done plenty of movies, but still was experiencing some financial difficulties. And I remember saying, God, I need $50,000. I want $50,000. That's what I said.
Okay.
It was clear. And so then I randomly got a phone call, and then not so random if you're listening, because you think, oh, you're an actress, you probably get these phone calls all the time, but I don't. Okay. I got a phone call with an offer to play a role. And, you know, it was one of these situations where, you know, there's not a lot of money. And I'm thinking to myself, listen, I don't know what you think not a lot of money is right now, because right now I need any kind of money at this point. Yes. That's where I was. We started negotiating, or my agent or lawyer, whatever the case was, started negotiating, and the price we landed on, I think, $25,000.
Okay.
Right? And I didn't know what we were going to come back to, but I called my girlfriend and I said, yeah, you know, I don't know what to do. They're negotiating, but I really can't afford to lose this role. I really need this money. And she said, well, how much do you need? And I told her, I said, I need $50,000. She said, well, then tell them no to the deal that they're offering. I said, but I can't do that. I need the money. She said, well, how much can you believe for? Are you listening to me, Ashley?
Listen, I've never been listening more intently in my life, ever.
My girlfriend said to me, how much can you believe for? How much do you believe they will give you? I said, I believe $25,000. Even though I knew I had asked for 50. All I could really, in my spirit, if I'm being real honest, I only believed they would give me 25. You hear me? So my agent, lawyer, whoever it was, called me back at whatever point in time and said, okay, so they've got this, you know, a take it or leave it on the table. And of course, in my mind, I knew what they were going to say. But I said, okay, what is it? They said, take it or leave it, 25. That's all they have. That's their final offer. I said, okay, I'll take it. Because I knew that I only believed for 25. And I needed the money, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we start getting into the process, signing the agreement, you know, and all this time takes about, you know, maybe a week and a half. We're still a ways out from actually going into production. And then one day, as we're going over the final agreement and the deal points, I look at the contract and the contract said $50,000. And so I called my attorney. I said, why does this say 50,000? They said 25 and that was their best and final offer. He said, oh yeah, but they've decided that they're going to shoot 2 episodes of this.
You know what?
So they're actually going to pay you 50.
Oh my, I have full body chills. Oh my goodness.
Now, mind you, this in all my years has never, ever happened to me in life. And I've done plenty of these. They're going to shoot 2 pilots. I'm like, why would they shoot 2 pilots? Who does that?
Exactly. It doesn't even make sense.
Who even does that? And then I said, like, literally dropped the phone, like, God, I see you. I see you. It's like, listen, I know you could only believe for 25, but you asked me for 50.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. But
Yeah.
you
Now, when I
asked me
tell
for
you,
50.
you asked
Wow.
me for 50. So my point is, all I did was ask. I asked.
Mm.
How did I get the discernment? I asked for it. I still to this day ask for it.
Wow. Ask, seek, knock.
Period.
Wow. Period. Period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. I
Yeah.
am just fired up. Oh my goodness. I want you to take me back to, we're in the late 90s, we're in the early 2000s, and we're in these streets and it's popping, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You can't turn anywhere and we don't see your face. We're not celebrating you in some way. You really are. I feel like it's a season for me from the outside looking in where I just really feel like you were getting your flowers and you were being seen. That's how it looked like to
Hmm.
me. Is that
Mm-hmm.
what it looked like or felt like for you? What did that season feel like for you at that time in your life?
Wow, that's a really great question. And I will tell you, it did not feel like that to me.
Mm.
But I didn't feel unseen. I've always felt cared for. I've always felt the attention, the necessary attention from my mother and my father. So I never went out into the world needing to feel seen. And I think that was the gift.
Mm.
And so what it felt like was that I was just carrying on, that I was just living. Like people will ask me even to this day about a job, a role, a line, a character, and I don't really remember. I realized it during the pandemic because I started seeing all these episodes of, like Sister Sister and Moesha, and I was like, oh my God, I've done everything. Oh my goodness, I was on that too. Oh yeah, it's just like I would see reruns and I would be like, oh my goodness, I remember that show. I was on that show, but I
Mm.
never watched them because it was just like, it was like going to work. And then,
Wait a
when you
minute.
come
Hold on,
home,
Malinda. Wait, wait,
no,
wait, wait,
yeah,
wait, 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 wait. Hold on. Take me back, running it back.
mm-hmm,
You don't
mm-hmm,
typically watch the stuff that you're in?
no, no,
Oh my. So you literally do the work and you just leave it there and go on about.
that's it. I'm out. I
Wow.
clock out.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow, 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 wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always easy to do, watching yourself. It's a little weird. There's so much behind it that we're bringing. That's what makes it good, is that it's not surface. You're actually bringing Malinda into the characters that you're playing.
It's one of those things that I'm always, even now, and I've learned this as I've gotten older, is to just even be mindful of the roles that you play, not just in terms of how you portray a Black woman, another Black woman, but what experiences you might be calling into your own experience, right? What energy are you putting out there that you may not want to call into your own experience?
Ooh. Mm.
I think it's important. I think it's important to say, and it's not just about me as an actor. I think it's about all of us because, words are very powerful. Whether they're
Yeah.
written by someone else or not, they're coming out of your mouth.
Mm. Mm.
We used to be on Soul Food, and things would happen on the set that would mirror our own lives, and we would be like, "What is this? How is this happening? How do they know this?
Yeah.
How are the writers able to know that this is happening?" And it's like they don't. But but sometimes when they say art imitates life,
Oh
imitates art,
yeah.
that's a real thing.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
real thing.
Oh yeah. I experienced that in the fourth season, especially in the fourth season of Dear White People. I remember by the time I read the scripts, my mind was blown because everything that they had written for Joelle, was happening in my life. Joelle got engaged. Joelle ended up getting married to Reggie. It was truly my husband, Daryl, and I was like, this is, and they didn't know. They literally wrote this before I even got engaged. Before, obviously I had not gotten married yet, all of those things. And so it really, really made me truly realize that. And it also made me be even more intentional about the types of shows or, the type of energy that you let in, because, that's why I kind of, I get weird about doing things that are too dark, because I'm like, I don't want that. I'm not naive to think that can't in some way maybe, seep into my home life. And I just am very protective of that.
Good for you.
Yeah. Do you have like an example of something that was happening for you that was truly like being imitated, in your life? Art imitating life, imitating art?
Well, first of all, I'll say good for you. Because you know yourself, right? And I know myself, and I know sometimes things that I even think of show up in my experience. So I'm even like really careful about, going, oh, don't think that. Let's think something, think something more positive.
Yeah.
And so, but again, I wasn't really super clear about the power of the spoken and written word as I am today. But back then, when we were working on Soul Food, I remember there being one particular incident, and this is just one. It's not even a big deal, but we were staging or reenacting a flood in Big Mama's house, right? The character Lem, who was played by Darren DeWitt Henson, had left the bathtub running, and we came home and water was leaking into the living room. I think it was like the first episode or the second episode.
I remember this. This is coming to me. This is coming back to me. Yes.
Yeah. And so we had to play out this whole thing. Everybody was really mad at Lem's character because he ruined Big Mama's house, and the bathtub came crashing through the floor. Well, during the filming of that same episode, not on the same day we were filming that scene, but during the filming of that episode, we had to clear out our trailers because Darren's trailer flooded. And we were like, how does a trailer even flood? Like, how does that even work?
Yeah.
Why is this? And why is it his room? You know what I mean? And so that was one of those things where we all just kind of wide-eyed looked around at each other like, ooh, this is weird. When I came to play the character of Bird, our lives were parallel. And it was so interesting because I originally said no. I was like, I'm not going to Toronto to film a TV series because I'm newly married. I have a brand new baby. My marriage is in peril, and I'm needed here at home. And I remember that offer came back about 3 times. And I kept saying, no, family first. It's my family is more important than any role that I'm not going away.
Yeah. Right
now. I'm going to take care of home. And then the final time that it came back around, it was weird again. I ran into someone at Gelson's at the grocery store. And that person said, oh, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I work for such and such studio. I heard that you were going in to test for Bird. I was like, well, no, I'm not. I don't know who told you that.
Yikes. At the grocery store? Yeah, oh my goodness.
At the grocery store.
What?
And then I ran into someone at a movie viewing. It was like a premiere. It was a screening. And that someone else said to me at that screening, they were like, oh, I heard you were going to play Bird. And I'm like, I'm not. Why does everybody think I'm doing this? I already said no.
Wow.
And so the final time it came back around, I said, oh my goodness, why are all these people calling me and telling me that I'm supposed to play this character? Let me look at it. So I'm in the car. I get a call from the producer, and this was Felicia. Henderson, Felicia D. Henderson, and she said, you're the one. You're the only one to play this role. We have a test for you at Showtime, and I would really like for you to be there. And I know they were testing some other actresses as well. And I just said to her, I said, listen, I appreciate your call, and I will think about it. Mm-hmm. I will think about it. I will pray about it. And thank you for calling. Because I was resigned at that, before that call.
Yeah.
But so putting together, and I didn't tell her about, I ran into somebody at Gelson's. They said the same thing. But, I remember getting on an on-ramp to the 405 as I hung up the phone. And I thought to myself, I said, what would my mother do? That's the first thing I said. I said, what would my mother do? Mm. And then the answer, that soft voice said, Mom would show up. I said, all right, well, I'll show up then. Mm. And when I showed up, I had no attachment because I just was kind of showing up because all these people said yes, and Spirit said Mom would go, and Felicia called, and I was like, all right, I'll go. And when I got there, I did my test, which is, when you have a test, you are playing out a scene from one of the episodes, and in this case, it was the first episode. Yeah. And I remember the scene being a scene where I was at odds with Lem, with my husband, with Bird was at odds with her husband. Mm. Mm. And, it just was coming from a pure place. It was coming from a real place. I allowed the emotions of where I was in my real life to ride the words of the character. Mm. And I remember as soon as I was done with the scene, and the scene was like going off on Lem. Bird was going off on Lem. And I just remember looking out and seeing everyone in the room. There were about 15, casting, network executive, studio executive, about 15 people in the room. And I just remember they were all staring at me. Most of them had their mouths open, but you could hear a pin drop in the room when I was done going off. And in that moment, I thought, oh my God, I think I just blacked out. And then I looked at them, and I looked at all of them, and I said, I'm so sorry. Because I almost like I didn't know what happened. Mm-hmm. And then someone broke their character. It was like, no, don't apologize. Oh my God, that was amazing. That was amazing. I said, no, I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry. Because I kind of felt like I had let all my dirty laundry show.
Yeah.
Which is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But, that was me going through the first season of Soul Food. And now that I look back, again, it was God allowing me the space and time and resources that I needed in that time in my life to go through what I needed to go through.
Yes.
Work through it.
Yes.
Literally.
Yeah. It's so, you saying, first of all, I so needed that story, but you saying, as you're telling the story, I put that dot, I connected that dot even before you got there of God wanted to give her space. It had to be Toronto. It couldn't be the Fox lot over in Culver City. No, it had to be Toronto. And in your head, you're like, Toronto, Canada. I'm going out of the country. I need to work on this marriage. I have a baby that needs me. And God said, you have to trust me. Not only is this an opportunity that I've created specifically for you, my child, but I need you to remove yourself from this situation in the physical. And I'm going to give you a job in the midst of it too. So are you going to trust me or not? It's kind of like...
Or not.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was, and again, it was like that, again, was a metaphor for, I'm just going to take you away for a season, but I will bless you greatly. And he did.
Yeah.
Beyond, I mean, he blessed me with 2 new sisters.
Yeah.
And a whole, another family, you know, in my soul food family, and blessed me with a role that, you know, was just so endearing to so many people. And that really changed my life. And some might think when I say that I mean, oh, playing on a series regular on a TV show changed my life. But that's not the case. It changed my life because the relationships that I made as a result of being on that show, and even the relationship that I began cultivating at that time with who was my husband at the time, was as a result of the people who I was surrounded with. You know, there was no time to become bitter. There was no time to be angry. There was no time to be, you know, to fall into a place of feeling jaded about anything. It was like just blessings were being showered on me while I was going through this crazy life-changing experience.
Yeah.
And so then I turned around and I was like, wow, I was so grateful for all of it. All of it. Because had I not gone through those things, there's no way. I don't know. Sometimes I felt like the first season of Soul Food, actually, maybe more like the first season and a half. I kept thinking, why haven't they fired me yet? Because I'm just phoning this in. I'm not even really working. Like, I'm just working out my personal, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm doing. And so they don't know that. And then later I learned, well, you know what? That's what they wanted you to be doing.
Oh, yeah. And more, you know, the bigger thing though, Malinda, is that's what God needed you to be doing. You know what I mean? Like, take the producers, the executives, all these people out of it. That's what he needed you to do. And the beauty of it is that he gave you the opportunity to work through it, doing what you love to do, what you were called to do. Yeah. That is only a situation that God can configure. Only.
That's like, right.
That's nothing that any of us can do. Only he could do that. And, you know, meanwhile, to me, it's one of the most iconic characters, one of the most iconic performances I've ever seen on television. But to you, you're I was just working out my stuff. You're like, you know,
I was just working out my stuff. I mean, I was, and think about it. I tried to say no. I tried to mess it up.
You did.
And that's why I always say, like, listen, when it's for you, it can't nobody take it from you. You hear me? Yes. That wasn't something that was created for me, not by the producer or the showrunner. It was created for me by God.
Yeah. What has been your takeaway from our conversation today?
Well, the word love keeps coming up. That's the first word that came up. And I, you know, like I always say, I always listen to the first word. And I'm thinking, well, is it she loves me, or, well, I love her? Or what is it?
Both. It's both.
It is both, but it also feels like, to me, if I really think about it, it's like, again, because we're in a double up year, right? We're in 2022.
Yeah.
That means that you and I agree that we, the collective we, need to hear and see these things, and need to hear and see this conversation. So that's my takeaway, that we agree that this is fortifying, it is healing, and hopefully it is, you know, it'll spread like wildfire, like other people will be having these same kinds of conversations, other Black women.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. My takeaway is that nothing is, it's like you said, you don't believe in coincidence. It's that this conversation has confirmed that for me, and specifically with you, because again, I just go back to how connected I felt to you. I've felt to you for 20 years, having
Wow.
never had a conversation with you in this way, having never had lunch or dinner or none of those things, just truly feeling connected. And now having what I would now call probably one of the most impactful and beautiful conversations I've had with someone in my lifetime. It's that it wasn't a coincidence. Everything I felt then has always been true. And it's only more true now. And that is, to me, one of the biggest blessings of life is that at some point in time, what you've always felt will be confirmed in a way that only God can confirm for you. And I just feel so blessed to have been in this space with you. I truly, Malinda, I want to tell you that I love and honor you. I really, really do. I honor you. And
Thank you.
So I must say, thank you. Thank you for saying yes. Just thank you for saying yes to me and to everything that you are called to say yes to. I just thank you for listening. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Malinda.
Thank you, Ashley. It's been an absolute pleasure.
After the credits,
do what nobody else is doing. Even if it's a scary prospect, do it.
Thank you so much for listening. This podcast is produced by LWC Studios for OWN. The show's executive producer is Juleka Lantigua. Its senior editor is Marilyn Williams. Sound designer is Cedric Wilson. Managing producers are Camille Stennis and Paulina Velasco. Assistant producers are Michelle Baker and Shanice Tyndall. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, and we hope you do, please make sure to subscribe, leave a rating, and review wherever you listen to your podcast to ensure you hear the next one. So, who is one woman from history you would invite to your annual Rise and Shine Ladies Who Brunch event?
Oh, that's a good one. I think the first person who comes to mind is Madam C.J. Walker. Yeah, because I feel like she's somebody who had a lot of insight, who has a lot of insight into, how to do your own thing. How to go against what you see, how to have faith, how to step out and believe in yourself, and to do what nobody else is doing. Even if it's a scary prospect, do it. She could teach us a lot.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's really good. I know I want to come to this brunch, Malinda. Can I get an invite to the brunch? I'm trying to come.
You absolutely can. You absolutely may.
Yay!
Wait for it. I'll see you there.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. Thank you, Malinda.